Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's Friday night and this is the one show that you cannot miss every single week because this is where we lay it out for you absolutely straight from A to Z. We've got so much planking to get through. We've had to bring in some specialists to look into it. The panel is this: Sir Jeremy Kyle, Russell Quirk is back, Samara Gill's here, Howard Cox is back as well, and welcome to all of you. We've got to kick things off straight away. Benefits Britain.
1 million foreigners in Great Britain, according to new analysis, claiming benefits.
Yeah.
Of that 1 million, that's 40 different nationalities, and that figure is more than British people trying to get that money, right? Households with at least one foreign national received £7.5 billion worth of benefits. You've got this whole structure
and
whereby...
we keep being told, don't we, oh, they don't claim benefits, the people that come
But they
here
do.
to work.
They do.
I know they do.
And not only do they claim them and get them quicker, but I'm talking about the people in this country who pay their stamp, and I get slagged off the whole time, and do all their stuff, and if they ever need a handout, you can't get...
No.
And by the way, this is over and above the asylum bill. Let's not get this confused with
that's
the
the
asylum
whole
thing, which is
isn't it?
another £8 billion
that's
a year.
So you've got that, you've got this sort of, oh, by the way, this generation, you have a career choice. You can go to work, go to college, or sign on. It was never meant to be that a benefit system pays you more than non-working. And this week, you can put the whole thing together for me. A new poll said that 40% of Gen Z, I thought it was 25%, but there we go, want a quarter of kids now think that they shouldn't have to work because it's stressful.
It's right.
And 500,000 households in Britain where they are on at least their third generation of people that have never worked.
Yeah.
Never
But there's also
worked.
the other problem I think the benefits business has created is people with low-paying jobs who get them topped up.
Yeah.
Get their money topped
Universal
up
credit.
by universal credit, which is bonkers. There's all that's
Can we say on Plank of the Week, because I love the truth of this show, right? It's great to help people who can't help themselves. But I'm afraid there are lazy, scrounging dossers who are being financed by people going to work, and it's an absolute disgrace. And it needs to stop. And by the way, mental health, very good. Talked about that myself. Great. But people are now using that as a bloody excuse, certainly the younger generation, not to work. The world's gone nuts,
Well,
mate.
it has, because what I was going to say about the thing about topping up people's low wages is that you end up basically just giving money to companies so that
You're
companies
subsidising the company.
don't have to pay them proper wages, which is
100%,
wrong.
100%.
Entirely, it wasn't really made for that, Howard, was it?
Absolutely right. And what worries me, though, there is some people that, for example, living near me is a person who's been blind all his life.
Yeah.
And he's nearly 70, all his life, and every year he has to prove that he is blind.
Right.
There's no way he's
He has
getting his
to go to
blindness
some
back.
panel.
You'd think someone would actually tick a box and say this guy deserves his benefit. But he has to prove every year. And yet, as you quite rightly say, there are people coming over here and they just walk in there and somehow they get benefits day one.
Well, and don't forget, of course, there's also the million people that are off with anxiety.
Well,
You can now get benefits of getting ADHD.
ADHD, which you can almost self-diagnose. When's the last time someone walked into a doctor and said, I think I might have ADHD, and the doctor said, no, you haven't. They just give them a load of pills and say, yes, you're signed off.
Yeah, but you have to wait 6 weeks to get into see a doctor, though, to tell him that.
Yeah.
It is ludicrous, though.
It is mad.
And it's a bit like, we have the migrant discussion loads and loads. One of the things, for me, the ultimate deterrent would stop making it so easy to give people so much in it. And it really sounds awful to say this, but we are screwed. We are financially skint, and yet we are still shelling out millions and billions to people who don't deserve it.
But what about this Gen Z thing, Samara, about a quarter of young people who think they'd rather just be on benefits than have a job?
Yeah, it's actually really, really worrying because it gets very addictive suckling on the teat of the state and you kind of just want more and more and more of it and you just don't have that drive to go to work. So it's very concerning, these numbers that are coming out about younger people, because as you said, once you get on benefits, very hard to break that cycle because it's very addictive just getting the money in your account, not having to go to work. And the people that really should be getting it, like your blind neighbour, are not getting it or have these really, really strict enforcements because of people who've been rigging the system and trying
But that was the ethos of benefits. Benefits, as you rightly say, Jeremy, were designed as a temporary crutch for people that had fallen on hard times temporarily, or for people that genuinely could not work, right? Which would be a tiny percentage of the working population. Now we've got effectively 20 million people in the private sector, somehow propping up 40 million people that don't want to work.
Just wanted to say if I can very quickly. It's an amazing call from a 64-year-old woman. You break your heart. She worked 39 years in frontline in the A&E, saving people's lives. She got beaten to a pulp twice and in the end had to retire. She spent her pension. She gets absolutely jacked. And she lives 300 yards from a migrant hill. And she rang me and went, there's 300 of them, Jed, smoking and drinking and in a 4-star hotel. And I'm skint and I gave 40 years to this country. That is wrong,
it's shocking.
man. It's wrong.
The other thing that I find amazing about this week is that, if the Tories had tried to do anything like this, they'd have been called cruel,
killing
sadist, like Nazis. Look at them. They're going after the sick and the disabled. They're going after people who can't look after themselves. They're taking money off them. They're evil. Nobody's saying anything, Labour Party. They're all going, bring it on. Let's get some more disabled people and chuck them out the window.
But the narrative from Labour this week has been, we're going to save £5 billion by not giving benefits to people that don't need them. You think, why is that a revelation?
Yeah, right.
How is that even allowed to be
Samara's
happening?
into figures. They're going to save $5 billion, but over the next 5 years, it's going to cost $27.5 billion extra to just stand still. So, in fact, it's just scratching the surface. We need to weed out people who are taking advantage.
Yeah,
it's wrong.
It's unsustainable.
Just before we move on, because we're nearly out of time on the first nomination, have a look at this. This is an immigration board game.
It's called Keep 'Em Out, and it's a fun immigration game for 5 to 8 year olds. And the object of the game is to gain unlawful access into the United Kingdom of Great Britain. You have smuggled yourself into the country on the back of a lorry. Move forward 1 square. Pick a card. You get the job as a minicab driver. Move forward 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pick a card. A terrorist cell is discovered in your local place of worship. Move back 2 squares.
Absolutely superb.
Final square, congratulations, you have been given a luxury penthouse at the expense of the British taxpayer. End of the game.
Tragically, it's actually based on
I
reality.
strongly suggest that Talk actually produced that game.
I know.
We sell it.
And isn't
It'll be a bumper
that
sticker.
that is genius comedy?
Yeah.
Because that was 20 years
But
ago.
they won't do
That's
it
not
now.
allowed now.
No, but hang on.
fly
David
with me.
Williams and Matt Lucas, after that, they
That was Little Britain,
apologised,
yeah.
didn't they, for Little Britain?
Yeah.
They apologised.
And it's all been taken off the iPlayer and all the
can't
rest of
watch
it.
it anymore.
Anyway, Russell, over to you. Waitrose.
Yes, Waitrose, or rather Wokerose,
Yes.
as I like to call them. Here's why. So Waitrose have suspended and taken a particular employee by the name of a man by the name of Ben Woods through a disciplinary process. Do you know why? No. Not because of anything he did at work, not because of gross misconduct, but Ben Woods, Ben on Wine, or I think he's
Ben on Wine on Twitter.
Is his Twitter, very, very well known, has been retweeted by Elon Musk, I'll have you know. He has, as is his right, tweeted and retweeted certain things of a centre-right nature, particularly things from the Telegraph, including cartoons, suggesting that maybe it's not a good idea to marry your cousin and have kids with them, that kind of thing. Waitrose, who you would think would know better than to meddle in people's private lives, those things that have nothing to do with him whatsoever, have suspended him and taken him through a disciplinary process on the basis that he dared to tweet his own free thoughts on his own Twitter account in his own free time.
Yeah. They, of course, would say that the reason they did that is because also on his own Twitter account, he was promoting Waitrose. And so the problem was he's pictured there, I think that's on his Twitter, he's outside a Waitrose, he's wearing a Waitrose
I get that.
and I realise it's ridiculous.
But do Waitrose honestly think that...
But he's not very smart, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, he's not, but it doesn't mean
I thought he was outside an
suspended.
abattoir.
Doesn't mean he should be suspended for his own free expression.
But no, but he might have thought about whether or not it was a good idea to put pictures of him in Waitrose.
It matters because he's not doing it on the Waitrose account. I don't think anyone thinks that, Waitrose has a political position on cousin marriage. I mean, I don't think so.
point
No, but I think if there's a picture with him, I mean,
but the point
oh
is-
my God, you're going woke, Jeremy.
No, I'm
Waitrose management. Waitrose management could have actually just done it behind closed doors and sat down. Look, can you get rid of that picture? He's standing in front of Waitrose, which is what Mike's point is. And but be
No, they
careful
certainly
what you say.
shouldn't be poking around and seeing what else he's been.
Yeah, how did they find that out?
But
That's the
obviously,
point.
somebody's obviously shopped him.
But they
haven't
also
and I mean, I guess you wouldn't be that surprised because Waitrose is probably full of people.
Well,
who are
there were
quite woke.
complaints, but he also then had a death threat at work as a consequence of some of the stuff that he tweeted. Waitrose then
What, for
came
those
in...
nice, kind lefties?
Yeah.
Welcome
They'd
to my
never do
world.
that.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Waitrose
Hey, how many death threats have you had today?
Waitrose then said to
Are
him...
you not in the Howard, Jezza and Mike camp? Do you not have them on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, yes, minute by minute. But Waitrose then say, right, we are going to investigate this, but we're investigating you, Ben, not the death threat.
Right.
And they put him in
Are
a
you a
room for 4 hours
Waitrose
and
shopper?
interrogated him.
Are you a Waitrose
I am
shopper?
actually.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to boycott them. I don't agree with them.
M&S, they're rubbish.
Well, it looks
No,
like
no,
Waitrose isn't going to win.
Waitrose no good. Samara, you're a Waitrose sort of gal, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. No, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like there's right and wrong in Waitrose's mind. It should just be free speech. He should be able to say what he wants to say, and he's working a minimum wage job.
My
They are coming
point
for
is
the wrong
simply
people.
my point is simply a practical point. It's not about whether I think he did the right thing or not. Yes, of course he should be able to say what he wants. But in the world world in which we live, if you work for a big company like that, who have got people working for them and people visiting them, going to the shops who are going to report you for doing stupid stuff, then you're going to get nailed.
So don't mix a brand message with your own personal political beliefs. No, I get that. I still don't think he should be suspended.
I don't think he's winning.
I just don't think if he said hashtag Free Palestine, they probably wouldn't have done anything about that.
No, they'd probably be fine with that.
So I think that's the problem.
That is the double-edged standard, double standard, isn't
exactly.
it?
I'm just saying, how do you feel, Russ? I don't think you're winning plank of the week. You've been destroyed.
I've got one more go.
No,
How many hits did he get? Did you say 1 million? Did you say?
I think he's got loads and loads and loads of followers. I don't know how many. I don't know. I don't know what the traction.
I think Aldi and Morrison's would love to get those amount of hits. You see?
Yeah.
I see.
Maybe you should go defect over to the other side. The Aldis, the Germans, they're not quite as woke as.
What you think a wine specialist at Asda? Do you think that's even a thing?
What's the supermarket with the middle aisle where you can buy a speedboat?
Yeah, that's Asda. No, Asda. It's Aldi and
amazing. Have you seen the middle aisle? You can buy a speedboat.
Yeah.
That's
or a
Costco,
dinghy,
isn't it?
Or a dinghy.
A dinghy, yes.
There you
That's
go.
what you get right. A blow up one.
Absolutely right. Let's have another look at that cartoon that he posted, which they took gross exception to, which is actually quite funny. And it's in the Daily Telegraph, which is hardly, some kind of racist.
It's not Mein Kampf.
Free sheet. No.
I mean, your son is falling behind in sex education. You could only name 47 of the 100 different genders.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, but that's just, you could either agree that there's 500 genders or not. It doesn't mean it's offensive, but people do take offence.
Yeah,
apparently.
that's the trouble. I mean, but you're in a forward, public-facing job. And if the public object to what you're saying, then you're out of a job. It's that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, but the problem is that bar of acceptance is getting
No,
lower
you're
and
out of
lower
a
and
job.
lower.
He's being represented by the Free Speech Union anyway. They usually win. So
Don't say
probably,
that. Kevin O'Sullivan
he'll
sacked
probably
me last
get,
week for something I said on Facebook anyway, because he prompted it actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Excellent.
something about doggy.
Oh, right. Thank you for that.
Trouble in paradise.
Anyway, well, over to you, Samara, on that note.
Look, I want to talk about this punk rock band called the Lambrini Girls.
Yeah.
They're in some serious hot water this week, as they should be, because for you, Mike, I did the digging.
Yes.
And it took me about 2 minutes to find, one of them on a red carpet with a trans flag, one with next to her, the other girl's wearing a Palestinian flag.
Of course.
They said that the UK is a racist.
Right.
They've also said that Trump's a and a sociopathic freak. They're all, like, these Lambrini girls are crazy.
Right.
Fine. As we just
All
said.
of which, as he says, is perfectly good to say.
Yeah,
However,
exactly. Perfectly fine to say. However, Lisa Nandy, who's our amazing culture secretary, among other things, she decided that it was great. She said these girls were absolute bastions of British culture and we should be giving them £1.6 million of taxpayer money, or at least a share of that package. These girls are nothing but trouble, and I'm just really sick of our hard-earned taxpayer money going into people's pockets who hate this country.
This comes under this week's kind of listing of government waste. Why are we giving money to people who are in bands? Because some of the money's going to some quite well-established bands who don't need the bloody money. They sell, plenty of albums. They sell plenty of live streams. They do plenty of concerts. These lot, however, I don't think somebody should have told her that punk was over in 1977.
Isn't Lambrini the cheapest wine?
It is,
Well,
Well, that just about sums up.
But I think that's their price. I suppose that's their
Again, for
point.
the good of the show, I listened to one of their tunes. I think I need to sign up for some sort of depression or anxiety.
I'll be off for the rest
after
of
it.
your life.
No,
I'll give you some
genuinely,
benefits.
When you say
it was
tune,
rough.
loosely.
Well,
No,
you wouldn't be at all
very
surprised to know
rough.
that we've got one of their tunes.
Oh,
This is called
God.
God's Country, it's called.
Big Ben number 10, Oxford and Cambridge. We'll talk about the weather outside detention centres. Union Jack off of Iraq and God save the king. All hail God's country.
It's a no from me.
Are they single?
That has always been one of the great quandaries, hasn't it?
Yeah,
That if
we're
such
terrible.
a racist country that the lefties are always telling us we are.
That's awful.
Why
I'm
is
going
everybody from every other race in the world coming to live here?
I know.
I mean, I don't know.
They represent
Howard, over to you. Maybe
Well,
we get
it's
through
interesting.
this
I
one
cannot-
without swearing.
Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, I didn't realise Samara. It's a whole new view of you.
Potty mouth. Potty mouth.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
the Lambrini girls. I'm just the messenger. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why they come over here, Russell, is you probably know, is they get free driving lessons.
What?
This is going to get me rough.
Yeah.
8.8 million quid, isn't it?
Well, I think the figures. I'm just talking about Kent, and I live in Kent, and I regularly walk my dog down on the coast, watching the dinghies coming in, and you can see the British School of Motoring waiting for them. This sort of
Chop them straight
Get
in.
your free lessons here. It's no wonder you can't get any driving lessons. My son was trying to learn to drive. This was last year, and he could not find any.
know.
He had to find some dodgy sort of small, sort of one-man operation because all the big, people that will teach you how to drive were full. They didn't have any vacancies. Now we know why.
Yeah,
There are
teaching boat people.
Yeah.
There are other schools, by the way, not just the BSM, which is what I just said. But let me just get the facts right. Driving lessons for refugees granted asylum, to be fair, they've been granted.
Yeah.
Have cost taxpayers almost £30,000 in 3 years.
Yeah, but they've all been granted asylum. Because at the end of the day, they leave them for so long. They just go, do you know what? Yeah, you can just
That's
say
where I
it.
was going,
It's
Mike.
just, you know,
I mean, at the end of
there's
the
no
day,
qualification process.
30,000? What do you mean 30,000?
That's what they've spent on driving
This is
lessons.
just Kent Council.
Just Kent Council.
Yeah.
Yep, you got it right. And the interesting thing about Kent Council is, you know,
Not
I
a
happen
lot.
to be there. My council tax is going up 7%. You know, hang on a second. Is that? You know,
Well, you've got to pay for them somehow.
Well, the driving lessons have gone up 7%.
They're not cheap driving lessons, I tell you.
I know. But this is ridiculous, isn't it? What's going on? They get houses, they get hotels, they get all these sorts of things. They get schools, they get training, they get doctors, they get medical controlled dental treatment, and now they can actually. If they're on the Motability scheme, they probably get a car.
Well, we'll come back to the Motability scheme in a minute. There's also a smuggler, a people smuggler, who's currently residing in Kent at a 4-star hotel. He was supposed to be deported some time ago, but he's now appealing his case. There he is.
He's been convicted.
His name is Rebin Sharif.
He's on bail
or as I
facing
call him,
extradition to
Robin
France. Back to Robin Sharif.
Robin Sharif, yeah.
His potential 107-day stay how much do you think this could be? Right? This is, honestly drives me up. £107,000.
Yeah.
Right?
In a hotel.
In a hotel.
Yeah.
And we take calls every day from people. I mean,
They can't heat their
pensioners are
mum and dads.
freezing and
Bed and breakfast.
veterans are on the streets, and that is just I swear to God, we're a laughing stock. I really believe
He's supposed
we're
to have been
becoming a
deported
joke,
years
man.
ago,
Of
this
course
guy.
he is.
But he has been convicted,
But
right?
he's,
So-
yes.
Yeah,
he's
but
been
if
in
he
prison.
gets convicted
He's
in
been in
another
prison.
country, they might have a go at him.
Yeah, but he's challenging the deportation order because
Under the
he
wonderful
says
ECHR.
he can't go back to wherever it is he comes from, Iraq, I think, because he might get killed or something. Oh,
It's not because he doesn't like chicken nuggets or something like
No,
that.
it's not the chicken nuggets to get an excuse. No, but I mean,
Iraqi-born
like
Robin Sharif.
Robin Sharif, Robin Bastard, some people would call him.
Mr. Bastard.
But yeah, I mean, it is ridiculous. Let's have a look at Keir Starmer. You mentioned council tax, because council tax landed on everybody's door this last few days.
And it's not going up. Do you remember? It's never going to go up.
Well, just wait and have a look, see what Keir Starmer said about council tax.
And that's why a Labour government would freeze council tax this year. No ifs, no buts. Labour would freeze council tax next year. And we're going to freeze council tax next year. You could rip up that council tax bill because you would not pay a penny more than you paid last year. Yes, you heard it right. Not a penny more on your council tax.
Is he just an inveterate liar? Is he a compulsive
He's
liar?
a compulsive
Because
liar,
it's not
man.
just he didn't. I mean, that is that little video was made by Kevin Hollinrake, the shadow secretary for something or other. I can't remember what business. I think it's housing. Yeah, and I mean, you know, he said it multiple times last year before the election. He said it
During the
multiple times
election.
during the election. And what's happened? Everybody's council tax has gone through the roof. It's unbelievable.
If you did that in the private sector, said, I guarantee if I come into your business as an employee, consultant, CEO, or whatever, I definitely am going to do this stuff. You know, no ifs, no buts, whatever. And you did, it would be seen as fraud.
Yeah,
it would be
it is
seen as
fraud.
deception.
Of course.
It's electoral fraud.
I've said on Plank before, and I've called a particular person, which we haven't got him on today, have we?
I can't believe you haven't nominated
Pathological
Sadiq Khan.
lies.
First time.
He's in there.
Is he
DNA.
not on?
First time ever Howard Cox is on this show and he's not nominating Sadiq Khan. You feeling all right? I mean,
Failed us.
But as I
must have been
say,
on holiday
there's
last
No
pathological...
wonder he beat you in the mayoral election. You
I
failed
was
us.
thrashed by that man.
Yeah.
He got 18% of votes.
How much did you get?
3.
yeah.
At least you got
Very
3 and you
decent.
got morality.
It's all to play for.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I mean,
Dreadful.
there should be. I mean, you've run for office now in the
two
past,
places,
Howard.
yeah.
There should be some kind of contract, shouldn't there, with the electorate, where if you tell lies in order to win the seat,
Well, I don't know why
then
the-
you can't win the seat.
Well, the
100%.
Supreme Court should be brought into this because that is a pathological lie to the
Yeah.
public.
And you look at the man that's ripping up the world, and everybody goes, "Oh, Donald Trump, Donald Trump."
Yeah.
The reason he's doing what he's doing is because that's what he said he would do for the American people. He didn't give a toss. That's
Yeah.
what it's
And-
going
and
to
he's
be.
deli- and he's
That's
delivering.
what he got elected for. I would love to have politicians in this country who did what they said they were going to do. How is
He's
that
just awful, isn't
scumbag
he?
our Prime
I know,
Minister?
it's
Also,
unbelievable.
it's not like the standard has gone up in the past year at all. There's
No.
trash everywhere,
No.
which of course is a cause that you care
Yeah.
about, Mike. You know, we're giving lessons to asylum seekers for
Potholes.
driving. There's potholes.
Potholes.
It's not like the actual standard has gone up. And it's crazy when you go to any other country, you actually see clean
Yeah.
streets and fresh air and
Yeah, I know.
trees being planted or whatever you want to
Right.
see in your council.
But we are lowering our carbon emissions more than most other people. You know?
Oh, well, that's all right then. Keir Starmer was in Parliament this week having a go at Lee Anderson. Have a look at this.
Oh, well.
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Prime Minister a very simple question on behalf of all the net zero sceptics. If we became net zero tomorrow, by how much would it reduce the Earth's temperature by? Simple question.
He complains that our better ideas if they stop falling over Putin. And I understand the member for Clacton wants to be Prime Minister. He can't even lead a party that fits in the back of a taxi.
What's that got to do with the question?
Well,
he never answers the question.
No, he doesn't.
He never answers
So
it.
it's ironically called Prime Minister's questions, to which he never answers.
No, exactly right. And he gets away with it somehow. And I don't know why. But, you know, I've had this problem. We're going to talk about old Lindsey Hoyle later on in the show. But
Where's
I can't
he, in
find...
Canberra?
Well, I don't know where he is. He might probably back in Gibraltar.
In the Four Seasons.
Probably on the Orient Express.
Yeah. But basically, you know, not one of the MPs will criticise him for doing anything, because if they do, he basically won't ever call them to speak ever again. The system is completely broken.
I'm still amazed.
Corrupt.
I'm still amazed that the British electorate fell for a party that said we're going to get governed differently. It's time for big boys. There'll be no corruption. This lot have their noses in the trough as much, if not even worse, than not sticking up for the Tories. It's disgraceful. They're not blatantly in it.
Well, it was only a few days ago. Rachel Reeves was revealed to
Richard III.
Richard III, Sabrina Carpenter, who, you know, some of you will know, some of you won't. Free tickets to yet another concert.
And who was the MP that just spent £600 on leather-bound folders?
No, I don't know.
Yes, that was Lisa
There's the
Nandy.
first.
That was Lisa Nandy.
Hey,
That's right.
That's a shock. An MP spending money on leather bounders, not leather chaps.
Those
or something like that.
That used to be the Tories.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, coming up, we are going to talk about Lindsey Hoyle, the Speaker. Also, we're going to talk about the big story of the week, Motability. This is all. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We've already got 4 very, very strong nominations already. I'm going to bring a guy in who previously hadn't been nominated at all. It was only, I think, 2 weeks ago that Sir Lindsey Hoyle, who's the Speaker of the House, managed to make it in. And he's going to be back in again today because not only... when he was put in the last time for the £250,000 worth of free trips he took to places like Jordan, where he stayed in the Four Seasons in Amman, and where he stayed in a Westin spa resort in the Cayman Islands, and where he stayed in the Ritz-Carlton in Los Angeles. All very nice hotels. You know,
For what reason?
Well, apparently he's promoting the British Parliament abroad, and I'm not quite sure why. One of the things that we didn't know was why he kept going to Gibraltar, because he's listed about 6 or 7 visits to Gibraltar, right? And in each of those, they didn't know where he stayed. So I was scurrilously thinking he's got some kind of woman down there. You know, he doesn't want to talk about it. It turns out he hasn't got some woman down there. He's got some man down there whose name is Albert Poggio. Who is
Albert Poggio?
Poggio, who's Gibraltar's former representative in London, right?
Right.
So he's obviously quite an important man in Gibraltar. What he says goes. You know, if you want something done in Gibraltar, you talk to, you know, Albert Poggio, and he gets it done for you.
It's not the greatest name, is it?
It's a great name, isn't it? And apparently, not only did old Lindsey Hoyle stay with him and be given all the sort of the freedom of the rock, if you like, he's apparently been in receipt of a parliamentary pass, which is very difficult to get your hands on. And so basically Poggio's wandering around the corridors of power, meeting MPs, meeting people from the House of Lords, drinking taxpayers' expense, having cheap meals in the restaurant, and nobody knows why. Apparently it says here that he organised several trips to Gibraltar for Hoyle and other MPs during his time representing the territory. We've all been on holiday. He spent 22,000 quid going to the Cayman Islands.
Is the Cayman Islands got... I mean, what would they need to know about our parliament?
Well,
that's
another tax haven. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? And also, this is what I said at the time, surely if you're being invited by another country to
What are you implying by this?
Well, I'm saying if you're invited by another country to go and talk about how great the British Parliament is, don't they normally pay for the trip?
Has anybody ever phoned you up and gone, Mike, can you come to the Cayman Islands and talk about Plank of the Week?
They haven't done it. And if I did do it, I'd say, who's picking up the tab? Because it wouldn't be me.
Or our taxpayers.
This is the taxpayer. But in addition to all of this, as if all of this isn't enough, this week we found out that he's had a portrait commissioned of himself, right? Mr. Speaker.
Has he?
And there it is. And that cost £36,000 of your English money, taxpayers. And then it didn't have a frame on it, so they thought, better put a frame on it. The frame was another 15 grand. So he's
51,000.
So 51,000 for him to hang a picture of himself so that he can look at himself in his all finery. And as if that wasn't enough.
Oh, it's getting worse.
Grace and Favour apartment, which he gets as the Speaker of the House, he's just spent $7 million refurbing it. $7 million of our money. Refurbing the apartment. And, well, there's more than one apartment. He's refitted the bathrooms in marble. This guy, I think, thinks that he's Julius Caesar or something. Or,
Labour.
the last... He's a former Labour MP.
From Chorley.
From Chorley, Lancashire.
And the famous thing about Chorley is Peter Kay coming in your ears, Chorley FM.
Yeah, there you go.
It takes champagne socialism to a whole different level.
They cannot ever be seen again, the Labour Party.
But they all moaned about...
representing the working man. That's absolutely...
but they all moaned about Boris Johnson's 70 grand wall payment. He spent 7 million quid.
Just before we came on to film this show, there was a story that I got about Angela Rayner, who apparently swanned off to Ethiopia the other day. And it cost 20,000 quid for her and her entourage to go to Ethiopia to somehow expand upon the great connection that we've got with Ethiopia, creating jobs in Ethiopia, creating jobs in London. Well, we got enough moped riders, thanks very much indeed. I don't think we need any more.
Not we're alleging that anybody who's a moped rider comes from Ethiopia.
No, absolutely not.
Do you know how many views the video got that she filmed there?
It got 50 views, right? 20,000 quid. I actually looked at it since then.
I still would love to meet her.
Well, Angela.
I don't know what it is. She holds a place.
People say she's great fun. I'm sure she is great fun. But unfortunately, she's costing us quite a lot of money.
Can I just suggest that your bucket list standards should maybe rise a little bit, Jeremy?
Steady. All right then. Well, anyway, so that's my nomination. Sir Lindsey Hoyle. Mr. Speaker, order. With his friend, the Doggio.
The
Doggio, yeah. He sounds like
Doggio.
He sounds like one of those Italian footballers from the 70s, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You play for AC Milan.
Or you're thinking of the Far Show, Scorchio.
That's just
Doggio is Scorchio.
That's very good.
Doggio in hot water.
Jeremy Carl, over to you for Motability and a free car.
You know, every now and then the stories on this station that just completely fly with our audience, like red meat. And Motability, another example of let's try and help people, has turned out to be another great rip-off for the United Kingdom. There's I've written this down. 850,000 cars, £4 billion worth of cars. This is a £2 billion a year business. The guy that's the boss, Andrew Miller, earns £750,000 a year. Last year there were over 800,000 claimants, right?
Sorry, it's 700 grand a year for giving away cars to disabled people.
And I had people go, and this is why I had people phoning me out going, can I get this absolutely right? This story just stayed with me. She said there's a woman next door who's got 2 kids. One's got ADHD. She's got a £30,000 Nissan X whatever. She gets £80 of petrol a month given to her. She's on 30 grand's worth of benefits. And this woman went, I struggle to afford to pay for a bloody taxi or to go on the bus.
But they get their insurance paid for as well.
Yeah.
Even if they're 18 or 19 years
and
old,
all the servicing,
all
the servicing's thrown in as well.
Yeah.
It is remarkable, isn't it?
And they ring people and say, by the way, you can... And people having stories and people say, she's driving a BMW and I can't afford anything.
And you're allowed to top up as well. So if you, for example, have got enough money, you can get their basic allowance to, say, get yourself a Toyota. But then if you want a Mercedes instead, you just add a bit more money. This is supposed to be for people who haven't got any money.
If you've got the money, why you want benefits in the first place?
Explain to me how you've got any savings to upgrade your car if you're supposed to be... Absolutely.
I mean, Harold, you know a lot about the car business from Fair Fuel UK and all that. I mean, this is unbelievable, isn't it?
Terrible.
Well, what gets me about it, there are adverts on TikTok, aren't there?
Right.
There's guys in balaclavas telling people actually how to actually take advantage of this scheme.
How to get yourself an Audi.
Obscene. How, civil servants get up in the morning and they go to work and they actually administer these schemes.
Yep.
How the hell can they look at themselves in the mirror? I would, if I was working as a civil servant doing this, I'm sorry, I would resign on principle.
But as Jess says, they've got a whole call centre outbound that's actually ringing people saying, you're on disability benefit of 150 quid a week or £8 million a month, whatever it is. You therefore qualify for a BMW 318i. Jeremy, would you like one of those? You go, is it free? What about the insurance? No, don't worry about that.
And it's brand new as well. And
they just deliver it. They deliver it.
Well, we've had people... I had a guy on who said that he basically delivers cars for Motability.
Yeah.
And he said that almost in every case where he delivers the car, he's not delivering it to the person who's actually supposed to be driving it.
They'll probably rent them out.
You're allowed to... Well, no, you're allowed to give 3 other names because you might be, for example, unable to drive because you might be disabled or something like that.
3 other names?
So you give 3 other names of a person who can be insured to drive it and drive it. And it's usually a member of their family or a son
that's the point.
or something like that.
The insurance covers anyone of your choice.
Yeah, when I worked in Scotland, a guy that worked for me had this very nice sort of brand new gleaming BMW, and I knew what he was getting paid, because he worked for me. And I said, "That's a nice car." He went, "Yes, my mum's. It's Motability. She doesn't drive." I'm like, "What?" And he just drove around in it, and you're not supposed to.
She didn't drive.
She didn't drive.
But she qualified for it.
Yes, but she got qualified for
She's one of the main drivers. Whatever happened to the
FFS.
disabled cars of old?
Well,
I want to know.
Yeah, the disabled cars of old, the blue one with 3
Rodney?
wheels.
And the handlebars. So the handlebars.
Yeah,
The Robin Reliant.
by the way, I'm just on the Motability website
Is
as
it
we
fun?
speak. Mercedes-Benz A-Class, if you fancy one of those,
Yeah.
you can get one of those. A Lexus RZ, they're quite nice.
They're quite-
no
they're good.
problem there.
Maserati?
Haven't got any Maserati.
Lamborghini?
You can
Oh,
probably
you wouldn't touch a
upgrade to a
Maserati.
Ferrari if you want one. Also, an electric Citroen Space Tourer, which is one of those big people carriers. They're pretty
You
expensive.
can bring all of your...
Just bring all your mates in it. Go down the coast, pick up a few migrants, away you go.
If I walk with a limp,
I mean,
if I walk with a limp, can I have a new 911?
Yeah, probably. I thought
It
that was
is
why you did walk with a limp.
No, there's a reason.
There's
why.
another reason for that. Russell, over to you. Shakespeare.
Yeah, Shakespeare's a racist.
Is he?
Yeah, so but this is.
I thought we knew that.
I want to do my Shakespeare joke.
So apparently there's a lot of them.
Can I do my Shakespeare
Go
joke?
on then.
Yeah.
William Shakespeare, 1623, lead in his pencil. William Shakespeare, 1624, lead in his coffin.
Can we cut that out?
Okay.
That's why I'm not doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Aching.
You know what? Your jokes go from bard to verse.
No, very
That was clever.
Oh, this is much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
Can we crack on?
good. Carry on.
Yes.
Two
Carry on up the
Two
Khyber.
gentlemen.
Let's tame the few.
Yeah.
So, shall we carry on?
Yeah.
Right, but this is the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, who have decided that Shakespeare, because he is seen as the greatest writer of all time, who happens to be white, and that's
Must
because
be
he was
racist.
born in 1530-something, yes, it is not fair on minorities and women in particular to call him the greatest, because it excludes all other writers that might actually think that they might be.
He would be someone to be proud of
Yeah.
in the United Kingdom.
But we've got
wouldn't
to,
it?
but get this, we've got to dumb him down apparently because of that white supremacy greatness, as they are putting it.
Yes.
So what they're actually now doing is decolonising his home. So you can go to his home, of course, and you can look round it. So they're in Stratford, of course. So they're taking stuff out of
there
it
it
that
is.
relates to documentation, statues, pictures, and so on. Anything that proves his greatness as the greatest writer that this world has ever seen, because it might upset minorities.
Who are these people
This all
saying?
came from a
Who is it?
professor, didn't
The
it?
Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, yeah, there is a professor.
This is a professor in some Birmingham University or other.
Well, that
who
explains
came up,
a lot.
who
It's from
came up with it.
Birmingham.
And they,
Dr. Hopkins.
Dr. Hopkins, there you
Dr.
go.
Hopkins.
And they've sort of adopted this treatise that was written by Dr. Hopkins, which is basically said all those things that you've just said, which they didn't have to do. I mean, why are they doing it? Why don't they just go, look, some nutty professor has decided that
And
Shakespeare's
who's paying
been
his
racist.
salary?
The
Is
professor?
It's in actually one of our...
It's in one
Centres
of our...
of academia?
That'll be the Chinese government will be paying
What
his
do you
salary.
think? What is the point in this country where people like him stop being listened to because what they're saying is absolute rubbish?
Yeah.
When you said it just then, who goes with this? This is ridiculous.
But
I had an American on who said it's one of the things that you should be most proud
But
of.
isn't it odd that
Yes.
when we talk about Muhammad Ali being the greatest boxer ever, or Mike Tyson, and they had to be black, we don't try and dumb that down because they're black, do we?
No,
but
of
the other
course
way
not.
around, of course we do. You
No,
can't
of
be
course.
great and white.
Let's have a look at what the Shakespeare Trust gets up to when they're not talking about Shakespeare being a racist.
I'm Andrew. I'm the Environmental Health and Safety Officer at the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust.
And hi, I'm Sian. I'm Gardens Manager.
Climate change is forcing organisations across the country to adapt their sites and be more resilient to the effects of extreme weather. At the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, adaptability and resilience has been required on multiple fronts. The replanting of the Golden Garden is part of our wider Sustainable Shakespeare initiative, which aims to embed sustainable solutions across our organisation to help us meet our target of being net zero in our own emissions by 2030.
So this is
Where is thy sting?
This is climate change being rife
By
in
the way,
Shakespeare's garden.
if you weren't sure, you would think that was actually another episode of Little Britain, wouldn't you?
To be or not to be, sustainability is the question.
Yeah.
Whether it is nobler to sustain.
Sustain.
There we go.
Very good. Well, listen, we're nearly out of time, so we've got to move on. Coming up next,
shut up,
we're
you
going
know.
to be talking about some union trouble that's coming up. Also, we're going to be talking about a United Nations judge who got himself into a bit of trouble. It's all coming up on Plank of the Week afterwards. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. Over to Samara for your second nomination.
Yes, well, Uganda, a country that's really always had a great human rights record.
Fantastic.
This judge, Lydia Mugabe, she was living in the United Kingdom, and she actually has had to face our rules that we have here in Britain,
Yes.
which is that you can't keep people as slaves, even if you're a human rights UN judge. I don't know if we've got the video, but it's pretty ridiculous.
What, you mean that doesn't let you
We
off the
have.
hook?
We've got a video of her, the moment of her arrest. Let's have a look at it.
So unfortunately, I'm going to have to now arrest you on suspicion of keeping somebody in slavery and servitude under the Modern Slavery Act. So you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned, something which later on in court.
Officer.
Anything you do say may be used as evidence. All right. Sorry?
I am a judge in my country. I even have immunity. I am not a criminal.
You've got immunity in this country?
Yes. I have a diplomatic passport.
Well, it turns out she doesn't have immunity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the worst thing about that response was that she actually wasn't shocked that she'd committed the crime. She was just shocked that she'd been found out.
Yeah, right.
And then just said, oh, no, I have immunity.
Even worse, did she commit the crime because she thought she had immunity? I mean, that's absolutely incredible.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
I'll just do what I want,
Well,
really.
so, I mean, the thing is, when I lived in New York, right, one of the biggest problems they had, the NYPD and the police department, was trying to find all these people who worked for the UN who had pretty much immunity from everything from car parking tickets to murder, basically. And there was a couple of really serious rapes that took place, but they couldn't prosecute them because they worked for the UN. Unbelievable stuff.
And did you say that her surname was Mugabe?
Yeah, no,
It's a Mugambi, I think.
Mugambi?
Yeah.
No relation.
Well, I'm kind of like, is there some sort of connection? Because not a great last name to have.
The whole human rights.
I don't know. She's been basically she's been connected to this other judge, and they conspired in order to actually get this woman here and enslave her. So it was a whole thing.
They shipped her in, didn't they?
Yeah, hopefully she goes in the can for a long time. But I do just want to mention that the UK government still does give around 50 million quid to Uganda per year, just because, and a lot of it does go into funding these type of people who think that they can live on their own rules in this country.
And isn't it funny as well
careful.
that you get all of these, sort of bleeding heart liberal Guardian reading types who say, we better pay some reparations for slavery. They're not interested in actual modern day slavery, which is going on under their very noses. There's plenty of people here in this country who have come from the Middle East, for example.
Well, slavery started in Africa.
Yeah, but also there are people who still have slaves. I don't care where it started.
Let's not forget who abolished it as well.
No, Mike, you're 100% right. In fact, she was part of some different pleas to actually get slavery reparations and get the UK to pay them.
Of course she was.
No, she misunderstood it. She thought she got paid per slave.
Yeah, she is. She is. It's like the sort of bottle return scheme. Right? Well, I've got one. How much can I get for this one?
I know how this works.
10, you get an extra bonus.
Is there a limit?
Yeah. And I mean, it's no coincidence that she's a human rights judge as well, human rights lawyer with a background in human rights.
There's no hypocrisy there at all.
Unbelievable.
Knows exactly how to work the system.
Rights.
I know, unbelievable stuff. Howard, over to you. Train drivers.
Look, guys, I'm the oldest one on this panel.
Yeah.
And I remember strikes back in the day. Back in I'm well older than you. I mean, you're what 33, 34?
60 in a minute.
I can't remember much
70.
God, you are old.
You didn't realise it. No, but do you remember the days of Scargill and all the other things and all the things?
Red Robbo.
And if the Cornish pasty wasn't the right size, they came out on strike and this sort of thing.
Right.
Well, we've got a situation now where I think it's Mick Whelan, bless him.
Yeah, that is the head of ASLEF, Because the other Mick's gone, isn't he?
Yeah, bye-bye.
It was lynched, wasn't it?
It was, thank you.
Yeah, he wasn't lynched, but yeah, he's lynched.
You've ruined that joke now. But
I know, I was waiting for you to do it.
Okay.
But what's happened, actually, is that there was a sort of health and safety meeting, and one of the drivers actually complained about something to do with safety.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the bosses, I think it's it's the East Coast Main Line.
Yeah.
And it's in Hull, and they sacked him, the bosses. And because they've been sacked, they're promising me, as of is promising us, 56 days of strikes, 2 months of strikes from drivers.
Right.
Now, I'm a bit 50-50 on this because I think the management shouldn't have sacked him. They should have talked to him about something that he's worried about in terms of safety. I think that's, it's like...
Although this is the same union, is it not, who advised its drivers up in Liverpool one time not to walk to the train because there was a bit of snow on the ground.
The snow was about 2 centimetres deep.
It was about 2 centimetres deep, and they could go as far as where the roof ended on the platform. But unfortunately, the engine was ahead of that, and they were told, just stay where you are. I mean, what's wrong with getting on the train and walking through the train to get to the cab?
And is this the same union also that if you're 55 minutes into your lunch break as a train driver and you get interrupted by a boss, it starts again?
It does, that's right.
Oh my God, I can't do this.
It's like
and the drivers earn about...
Did you just say what I thought you said?
Yeah, your hour starts again.
Yeah.
Can you imagine in our world that happens?
True.
That's just rubbish,
even if your manager comes in and says good morning to you, start again.
Do you want another one? Do you know how many train maintenance workers it takes to change a plug?
No.
8.
Is that a joke?
No, it's not.
True story.
There's no punchline.
True story.
True story. Because
Yeah.
they will only turn up in crews. You can't just get an electrician to come along. They come in because obviously you've got the one that watches, the one that kneels down, the one that's supervising from the left, the one that's supervising from the right. Yeah.
Sounds like a porn movie.
8 people to change a plug.
But the thing about this is very worrying is the management themselves, instant knee-jerk reaction, you can't tell us about a safety issue, you're sacked.
Yeah.
That was stupid on their behalf. I mean, I'm working with some whistleblowers in the underground who they did the same thing because they complain. You know that in the underground, the particulates are 2,000% more than they are at roadside level. You know, Sadiq Khan increases...
Yeah, who knew that? I mean, you'd think that would be the case, wouldn't you? It's underground, there are trains running through, it's filthy.
Yeah.
You know, the air's not great.
No, it's a bit more dangerous.
How about 70,000 a year to do the job? OK, then.
OK.
You know.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's under the auspices of a guy called Sadiq Khan. You may have heard of him.
Yeah, he's got a mention fine.
He had to get it in, didn't he? He had to get it in.
I really, really believe there's a bitterness.
Yeah, I think so.
You bet there is.
But there is this thing. Also, there was a story this week about tube drivers who apparently, in addition to getting their £70,000 a week and all sorts of perks with the job,
week?
Not a week.
70,000 a year, sorry.
Not your salary.
They now have demanded that they get first promotion on the housing ladder for council housing in London.
That's correct.
They want to be put above everybody else, even though
Not above the illegal migrants and the terrorists.
even above them.
That's not fair.
I mean, that's the power of the union.
It's a weird pecking order.
Here's the other thing I was going to ask, right? Because
Driverless trains.
something I've noticed, you talk about doing things in teams. Everywhere you go now, where there's a building site, there's about 15, 20 people standing around with orange jackets on, managing the traffic. What's that all about?
Yeah.
Huh.
Who's that?
Brilliant.
Sadiq Khan. Why haven't you mentioned me properly this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting some crank calls lately from some bloke in India. He keeps trying to sell me carbon
I heard
capture.
you talking to him.
You know.
Trying to sell you carbon capture.
Yeah.
He doesn't know his
No,
audience, does
he really doesn't. And I keep telling them to F off, but they keep ringing.
I was with you the other day when you...
Anyway, to finish my little bit...
All right, don't build your part up. It's his show.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'll switch the phone off. Go on.
That's all right.
I love
But anyway,
it.
I mean, it looks as though we're going to get strikes again on
Yeah.
these lines simply because of a stupid thing
Yeah.
situation. No grown-ups there at all.
I thought we were nationalising the railways. What's happened to that?
Sorry, are we?
Yeah, renationalising them.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
was
Starmer
said. Oh, that was in the manifesto.
He's forgotten
But there's
about
always
it.
more strikes under Labour. There's been
Yeah.
more strikes under your mate Sadiq Khan than there was under Boris Johnson.
Because they always...
Mention he's
he
going
denies
to have PTSD.
Yeah.
Post-traumatic Sadiq Khan. I promise you.
PTSK.
He's living rent-free in
Who
your
writes
head.
his script? That's
Yeah. Anyway, listen, we're nearly at the end of the show. I've got one more nomination for you, which is coming up. It's more government waste, believe it or not. We'll be back with what that is after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. This is the bit where we choose who's going to win and also my final nomination. And I don't know if you saw this story earlier in the week. I didn't know that they had these, but in the civil service, apparently, they've got credit cards, right, which they are given by the bosses of their various departments. And when I say credit cards, they're called, I think they've got a name, which I can't find here. Oh, yeah, government procurement cards.
So they're expense cards?
Well, they're used supposedly for
like a petrol card.
I guess if you go abroad on business, you use them for whatever it is you use them. But do you know how much money has actually been spent on these cards in 2024-25 in 1 year?
So this is under this government?
Under this government.
£250 million.
No, 700.
675 million.
Yeah.
675 million
That's
pounds.
half of what they've saved by freezing pensioners to death.
Now, this is supposed to be used, according to this piece of paper I've got in front of me, it says here, officials are supposed to use this as a quick way of paying for low-value goods and services, right? But that's precisely not what they're spending them on. Many of them have been spending money on Nespresso coffee pods, £1,200 on that. Many of them have been buying shoes in expensive shops in Barbados. Yep. And you go,
what? Right,
how
can
are
I
you,
just point
what are you
something
doing in
out as a man who
Barbados?
lived in Barbados?
£2,500.
Can I just point out, as a man who lived in Barbados, there's no shops that sell expensive shoes.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd make that point.
So that means they bought an awful lot of shoes, right?
Yeah.
£2,493 was spent in a fashionable shoe shop in Barbados. I mean, that's a lot of flip-flops, isn't it?
£493.
You can get a pair of shoes for 25 quid. For women's sandals, 42 quid. So
they bought like 100 pairs of shoes?
They must have done, yeah. Maybe
shoes for everyone.
Shoes for everyone. The previous year, £2,479 was spent at the DJ Superstore, which is a place that sells record decks, sound systems and lighting rigs, presumably for a local concert in Barbados. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, that's
British diplomats and their teams bought something like £49,511 worth of beer, wine and spirits between July and October of last year. They enjoyed nights out everywhere from China, Kyrgyzstan to the Philippines, Rwanda, loads of money spent in Rwanda, £87,000 on hotel rooms for one trip to South Africa. What is going on?
And there's no limit on these cards.
I mean, is anybody that works in the public sector paying for anything?
No.
We are the mugs here, aren't we? We're paying for everything.
That's our money, guys, just to let everyone...
I'm going to go on holiday soon, I'm going to pay for it. I don't have a card that charges it to the taxpayer, unfortunately. You know, I have to pay for the car park, I have to pay for the flight, I have to pay for the hotel, I have to pay for whoever's going with me, you know, and I have to pay to come back. These people are having a laugh, aren't they?
Mike, that's 675 million in perspective. They're after 500 million for an inheritance tax from the farmers.
Yeah, exactly right. That tells you exactly what you need to know, isn't it? At the weekend, it emerged that officials in the same department, basically that's the Department of Foreign Office, spent £920 at the Nassau Yacht Club in the Bahamas. In January 2023, they spent £2,900 in an Art Deco cinema in New Zealand. I mean,
why?
I don't know.
Some of the stuff was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like they sent 9 people to go and watch Prince William cut a thing for an eco-climate launch. It's like, it's ridiculous. And that cost us $89,000.
Right.
So it's like, it's never ending, Mike.
Well, it's because it's other people's money.
I think you're right.
Well, it's our money.
We're being taken as mugs.
We are.
We are definitely being taken.
And we are in the minority now of people who work in the private sector, pay loads and loads of tax and don't get anything for it. We get nothing for it.
Hasn't the minister done something about this?
Well, apparently Pat McFadden has clamped down on it and said nobody...
cancelled them, hasn't he?
Well, he said that they can't spend any more than 500
Pat
quid now.
McFadden doesn't look like somebody who clamped down on much.
Oh, I think he looks quite mean, actually.
Do you?
Well, it's hardly the UK's version of Doge yet.
It's not, no. I mean, he said, don't spend any more than 500 quid.
Yeah, 500
He should have taken the
on
cards.
shoes.
Like that once happened to me when I was working for the News of the World years ago, and I went to pay for a flight with my Amex card, and the guy behind took my card, put the biggest pair of scissors you've ever seen, just went like that, and cut it in half. And I was like, that's the only credit card I've got. How am I going to get to Dallas now? You know, and they should just cut them all up and give them back and say, there you go.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. So, anyway, I guess we better choose who's going to win. Who could it be? Let's get an idea from each of you. Who do you think should win?
What was your first one?
Oh, the Lambrini Girls.
Don't say it.
I think it's... Yeah, I won't say anything more than that. Yeah.
That sort of touched me.
Yes,
Hoyle
that's good.
It's going to be Lindsey Hoyle.
I think
Hoyle.
Lindsay Hoyle, who continually
great,
takes the mickey,
Yeah.
and who's put actually the old Foreign Office
You made
to
a really
shame.
good point as well, and it's probably the Labour Party. There hasn't been much written and said about Lindsay Hoyle. And
No.
if this was the other way around, if this was a Tory
Oh.
speaker,
Well, no, they
all
did.
hell would break
Well, it was
loose.
Burke,
As I said,
Owen
I mean,
Johnson,
I even had Richard Tyson the other day, and I asked him what he would say about Lindsay Hoyle, and they're all so terrified of him. Even he wouldn't say anything. He went, "Oh, he's a very good speaker."
He's an unaccountable champagne socialist.
He is, and
that's the
he's
element.
wasting our money on vanity projects for himself.
I think that's a great way to describe it. Anything we might have said earlier, vanity projects.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly it. There it is. Somebody actually, some wag on Twitter, did me up in a similar style. So I'm going to have it printed.
Some wag.
Some wag.
So
Are you going to have it printed?
Not a wag, no.
You up on social
a wag
media.
as in
Oh, I
somebody
see.
with a sense
I
of
thought
humour.
some wag
So what, you're going to
did
have
you
it blown up and framed to put in your house?
I think so.
I think you should.
I think I will.
I think you should have it behind you when you're
Yeah,
doing
I might
breakfast.
put it up in the studio, actually.
I think you should put it on the ceiling of your bedroom.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you very much to Jeremy Kyle. Thank you very much to Howard Cox. Thank you very much to Russell Quirk and to Samara Gill.
Gill.
It is, of course, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, Plank of the Week. Absolutely and utterly well deserved. Try and stop spending all of our money. We'll be back with more from Plank of the Week next week.